Donné, il est exactement 16 heures.
Yes, this is the story of a racing team. A story, too, of high endeavor, of courage. A story of a faith no less deep than the waters of the River Loire, beside whose banks lie the small French village of La Chartre. The even tenor of its ways unruffled by the return once more of a racing team. David Brown's team of Aston Martins, sleek and resplendent in the racing green of England. Their paintwork gleams in the warm sunshine of a June morning in France, as final details are checked and checked again in preparation for the most famous, the most grueling motor race of all time, that epic event, Les 24 Heures du Mans. Beneath the archway, team manager Reg Parnell in the DB3 leads his team of 3 DBR1s down the tree-lined ramp to the Passage, where the cars are scrutineered beneath a roofed enclosure. For small boys, it's all a delightful dream. But for Eric Hines and the Aston Martin mechanics, the Passage has a nightmare quality as they marshal their precious charges to run the gauntlet of official scrutiny. Each scrutineering bay, or post, deals with a separate aspect of the competing cars. Except for post 12, the commissaires sportifs, whom, as their name implies, have an eye for less technical matters. Vive les commissaires, and long may their sport continue. Meanwhile, amid much Gallic gesticulation, the scrutineering proceeds. And Reg Parnell guides Aston Martin number 4 up onto the weighbridge, where Sterling Moss takes over. 1,882 pounds. The car, of course, not Sterling. Sterling is happy, and so too are the photographers, as the leader of the Aston Martin team poses for their pictures. All set now to go. The stamp of official approval, and the carnet de passage. But where's Moss? Paying the penalty of fame as always, signing autographs as he chats to Phil Hill and Denise McCluggage. Scrutineering is over. Back beneath the archway drive the Aston Martin team, through the crowded streets of the city of Le Mans and out towards the circuit of the South. Save for its name, the circuit now bears little resemblance to the course over which the first 24-hour race was run in 1923. The tree-lined roads were narrow and dusty. The start area little more than a country lane. Let's look at the circuit today. Just past the pits, the road sweeps right and uphill beneath the Dunlop Bridge. We're just touring round. But let's make believe that we're Moss, who takes this bend in the DBR1 at 140 miles an hour. 5,002 revs in 5th gear. Over the rise and downhill towards the S's. Sterling brakes and changes down to 3rd, 5.7 revs, and drifts through at a mere 107 miles an hour. For even a master like Moss minds his P's and Q's in the S's. Then on to Terre Rouge, a 60-mile-an-hour right-hander in 2nd gear if the tank is full, and then 3rd as the fuel load gets lighter. Now we're on the Mulsanne Straight, which isn't all that straight. And up through the gears, with foot hard down, Sterling takes the Aston past that familiar landmark, the Café de la Hippodrome. The rev counter needles up to 6,000, and the speed is 166 miles an hour. Now over to the left-hand side for Mulsanne. At the 300-metre mark, the discs on the DBR1 pull the car back as Sterling brakes and goes down to first gear and 30 miles an hour. Past the signalling pits, up through the gears again. The speed rises to 150 miles an hour. Then it's down to third again, then second, and 60 miles an hour for Indianapolis. Up to third again, momentarily, before dropping down to second for Arnage. A first gear corner with a full tank. Back on the home stretch, accelerating out of Arnage, the road climbs slightly and winds right before dropping down to the notorious White House corner. Sterling takes it in top, into the corner, and out at 4,006 revs in fifth. Speed? Oh, about 122 miles an hour. So back to the pits once more to complete a lap of the 8.76-mile circuit that takes Moss a matter of 4 minutes, 3 seconds. First of the 2 practice sessions takes place on Wednesday evening. Against the Aston Martin team arranged a formidable assortment of Ferraris, 11, no less, headed by the 3 3-litre Testarossa team cars and the 2-litre machine number 23. Jean Behra watches the mechanics working on the car he shares with Dan Gurney. The V12 cars are lighter than the Astons and slightly faster too, a point that Behra waits impatiently to prove, despite the fact that practice times do not affect the starting positions. Behra goes away, his shadows lengthened by the setting sun. And 2 young French enthusiasts transfer their gaze to the Ferrari of Phil Hill, who, with Jean de Bienne, won Le Mans last year. But the race is not always to the swift, and over the Aston pits, an air of unruffled calm prevails as Trintignant tries out the car he shares with Frère. Italian speed can be matched by British strategy and stamina to provide an all-out win. Leading the French with their smaller cars to carry off the index of performance. But of one outcome, there's no possible shadow of doubt. Polish your car one day, and it always rains the next. Saturday morning, June 20th, 1959, dawns wet, as Reg Parnell and the Aston mechanics prepare to leave La Chartre for the circuit. The 3 DBR1s, latest of the lineage that have, over the years, set out upon this very journey in search of victory, carry with them the hopes of many men, fired by the unwavering faith of one, the patron, David Brown, who leads his Aston Martins down the road of destiny to Le Mans, the most famous and important of all sports car races. One by one, the drivers emerge. Maurice Trintignant, champion driver of France. And from Texas, Carroll Shelby. Jack Fairman, who drives with Moss. And veteran Aston driver, Mort Goodall, who's in the signalling pit at Mulsanne. The rain clouds are clearing, and there's a promise of sunshine to gild the gay and colourful scene before the pits. And there is much to see. The Aston team manager and his chief mechanic are oblivious to the crowds around them. So too is Salvadori, who chats with Pat Griffith and Eric Thompson. And glinting in the sunlight, the squat and purposeful shape of the Italian opposition. A menacing reminder of the battle ahead, the 3rd round of the World Sports Car Championship. Nor can the German Porsches be discounted, despite their size. And, smaller still, one of the 2 Saabs from Sweden that challenged French supremacy in the 750 class. Cars indeed of every size and people of every sort flock into Le Mans. In the Aston pit, the fuel level is checked. Rich Parnell rechecks it. A last-minute detail as the last minutes slip away and the pre-race ritual begins. And as ever, it's a walkover for the French. The cars take up their places. The vast crowd have already taken theirs and fill the stands to overflowing. All in party mode, complete with paper hats. Officials set off to clear the course. The music stops and the drivers prepare for the battle ahead. Salvadori adjusts his helmet. Sterling straps on his. On their marks, the drivers look up the road for the flag to fall. But our eyes are on Moss, that master of the Le Mans start and spearhead of the Aston attack. The 1959 Le Mans race, one lap old, Moss on the Aston leads the two Ferraris of Jean de Vienne and de Silva Ramos. The expected battle is joined. Mulsanne, lap 2. And behind his teammate Moss, the two Ferraris, an Ireland's Jaguar, Salvadori races fifth, as Sterling plays heir to the Ferrari Huns. With only 4 laps gone, the leading Aston begins to lap the smaller, slower cars. The field spreads out behind. Aston number 5 pursues its appointed course. "14 laps and 1 hour gone, and Moss still leads. Jean de Vienne is second. And Behra moves up to third. The superior speed of the Ferrari begins to tell upon a circuit where engine power plays a greater part than driving skill. On the 18th lap, Behra's Ferrari drifts through the S's ahead of Aston Martin number 4. And steadily begins to draw away. Far less steady at Mulsanne is a little saloon from Sweden, Treveri Pakasar. A Tête Rouge, and all round the pine tree, the tide of battle ebbs and flows. Two hours of the 24 are gone, and Behra's Ferrari leads. With Moss and the Aston second. Salvadori takes Mulsanne. He's fifth, a lap behind his team leader. And Trintignant lies ninth. You should have thought of that before. Now the Aston leads again as Behrens stops to refuel at 30 laps. And Gurney takes over number 12 Ferrari and sets out after Moss as dusk begins to blur the outlines of Le Mans. And cars come in to change drivers and refuel. Shelby now drives Aston number 5 through the S's, with Fairman behind him, who's taken the wheel from Sterling. "8:30, and for some, it's time for the evening meal. For others, the feast of motor racing is enough. And in the Aston pit, there's food for thought as Fairman makes an unscheduled stop. A hasty word and he's away again. For number 6 is due in for a routine call. And Trintignant prepares to drive in place of Frère. Smoothly, systematically, the Aston is refueled. The screen is cleaned. "53 seconds. And Trintignant is away in 7th place. Travel-stained but cheerful, Frère removes the traces of his spell. And replies to Sterling's queries. The race is all but 5 hours old, and the Behrens-Gurney Ferrari leads the Aston by nearly half a minute. But Fairman is due in for another magic spell by Sterling. Aston number 4 draws in, and the well-drilled pit crew jump to their allotted tasks. And Sterling, still in 2nd place, rejoins the race. But not, alas, for long. 2 laps later, the Aston is retired with engine failure, and Sterling's brilliant race is run. Now night comes to Le Mans, and the mood changes. After the opening shock of battle, the 31 survivors of the field of 53 fight a war of attrition, a grim struggle to retain their hard-won places through the hours of darkness. Midnight, and the Aston leads again, as Behrens' Ferrari falls back, pressed beyond endurance in the early stages. Ferrari are 2nd and 3rd. Through the long night they drive, in a solitary high-speed world of sound, broken only by routine stops to refuel. It's 1:30 in the morning, and Frère comes in to be replaced by Trintignant. Hopes run high in the Aston pit. Sterling's drive was not in vain, and only one works Ferrari now remains. That of Hill and Gendebien. In 2nd place, Astons are 1st and 3rd. But in the cold light of dawn, things don't look so good. Delayed by tyre trouble, the Aston has fallen to 2nd place. And with 8 hours still to go, Ferrari number 14 leads Aston Martin number 5 by 3 laps. And only 20 cars remain as the race enters its third and final stage. In the Aston pit, nerves are taut. Thinks this is a very long motor race. But fatigue and cold forgotten, the pit crew swing into action as Shelby brings the Aston in.